One of the mysteries surrounding Boruto's character at the moment is basically what's next for him. And what I mean by that is, how does he get out this hole? I feel like Boruto's still very strong, but it's just so crazy how one single arc can change how everyone perceives a certain character in comparison to another character. The outlook on Boruto in chapter 1 compared to now is very different, and I don't mean in a good way. Nowadays, people don't view Boruto as the top dog anymore, and that's not really his fault. It's just that the power scaling in this series is so crazy. A character can go from top 5 in the series to not even top 10 in terms of strength. And if you want to know who I was referring to with that statement, it's Code. Yeah, he's actually a prime example of a character who became a victim of the classic Boruto power scaling imbalance. Hey, actually, before I do any more talking, I don't want to forget to ask you all to drop a quick like on the video. As you know, it not only lets me know how you guys feel about the content, but it also attracts more Boruto fans like you and me to the channel. So please, if you don't mind, that would be greatly appreciated. But now that that's out the way, I'd say let's hop right into it. So basically, Boruto screwed himself over. And it's not anything too concerning, but it's to bring up discussion because this could change the course of the series, and quicker than you all realize. Now let's take this back to the beginning of the series. Dating back from the end of the time skip, coming into Tubu Vortex, Boruto immediately made his presence known to everyone. The way he came in to defend the Leaf Village from Code, we knew it was just a matter of time before he shown us something masterful. But we never really knew how far ahead he was than his peers until the Claw Grimes came into the equation. The Claw Grimes were creatures that we knew possessed great strength, but in all hindsight, should be beatable relatively easy in comparison to the rest of the stronger characters in the series. I see them as mindless monsters who can be a problem if overwhelmed by sheer numbers, but individually, they're not the worst thing ever. But due to their surprisingly powerful regeneration ability and their use of the claw marks, they actually impressed me in their debut fights. They gave Team 10 some trouble, and from the looks of it, if Kawaki didn't intervene, things would have probably gotten ugly. We then seen Kawaki get caught off guard by one of these Claw Grimes and slammed to the ground. He then blasted one away with his Karma Seal's power. Now we transition to Boruto's point of view, and he not only takes on one, but numerous of these Claw Grimes got taken out by Boruto's sword alone. So this scene, in comparison to Kawaki's, is meant to show the reader just how far Boruto's come in comparison to his peers. More importantly, the one who he's actually supposed to be stronger than, which is Kawaki. Every one of the Claw Grimes is sliced up on the ground, and Boruto was still up and hasn't even broke a sweat yet. So immediately, we see how hard everyone has to work to defeat these monsters, and then Boruto just no-diffs them. We then see Sarada's point of view, and although she didn't dispose of them as flashy as Boruto, her showing was very impressive, even more impressive than Kawaki's. So now when we add Sarada into the mix, it shows us just how far she came as a shinobi and how much growth she displayed in just a few years in comparison to someone like Kawaki, who hasn't appeared to get any stronger at all. And it definitely has a big part to do with Naruto, who I may remind you all has been training Kawaki, being sealed. His only mentor, the person who taught him how to perform ninjutsu and all about chakra, is unavailable. So of course that will stunt his growth as a fighter. This is our first example of how fast the narrative can change when it comes to how a character is perceived among the strongest characters in the series. Ending part 1, Kawaki was definitely among the stronger ones. Once he got his karma returned to him, he was undoubtedly stronger than Code. He even lapped Boruto and the rest of Konoha 5 times over. He was the strongest person in Konoha at that moment besides Damon. But fast forward 3 years, he's still not stronger than Damon, and characters like Boruto, Code, even Sarada can contend or even defeat him. And that's all just natural progression. As time goes by, characters are gonna naturally get stronger. So everyone gotten more powerful while Kawaki stayed the same. His moves maybe even gotten a little dull because of his lack of motivation to get stronger, knowing Naruto is 100% safe for the time being. So that's the story for Kawaki. When we look at Sarada, her case is a bit more difficult because we don't quite know her method of training since the time skip. We definitely know she has been training and taking on missions just because of the obvious power increase and the use of new techniques like Shidori Nagashi, which is basically Chidori's stream for those who don't know, and just overall better control of her Chidori. With her father gone indefinitely, many people believe she may have received training from another person who is well familiar with the Sharingan and its use, as well as has mastery over lightning chakra nature, like Kakashi. There's also speculation that she could have been just training with Mitsuki as well, naturally evolving the Chidori on her own, and just learning new ways to handle it. Basically just taking what Sasuke already taught her and just expanding on it. Regardless of what anyone thinks, I think she's shown the most growth out of anyone not named Boruto. I'm very impressed with her ability thus far, but all that pales in comparison to Boruto. I can't lie, one of the major reasons as to why Boruto was able to just enter Konoha and dominate like he just did was because he already had prior knowledge on what exactly the Claw Grimes are and what kind of power they possess because of Kashinkoji. Believe it or not, that does help a lot in combat, but that doesn't tell the whole story because at the end of the day, Boruto is just not in their league anymore. And the story makes sure we understand that as soon as the very next chapter after we deal with the Claw Grimes. Now, when dealing with Code, at this point in the story, he's clearly stronger than Kawaki again, and he's still considered stronger than Sarada simply because she doesn't have access to her MS quite yet, or at least she doesn't know she does. So going into this fight, this was it. This was gonna show us how far ahead Boruto truly is, and he not only exceeded expectations, he simply shattered them. We all knew he was gonna be a force to be reckoned with coming out of the time skip, but he looked unstoppable. He didn't look like he could lose to anybody. It was to the point where we was looking at Damon with potential question marks regarding if even he could beat Boruto. And that's exactly where the story succeeded. They established Boruto as the strongest. He had the biggest chip on his shoulder, so he couldn't disappoint. He also had the most help throughout the time skip as well. He not only had the power of prescience on his side, being able to learn techniques he learned in the future several times faster, but his trainer was Kashinkoji and Sasuke Uchiha, a clone of one of the legendary Sannin, the same dude who trained Naruto, Minato, and Nagato, all three coming out to be legendary shinobi, and one of the strongest shinobi in all of existence in Sasuke, and a wielder of the Rinnegan. So to say Boruto had it good is an understatement. So in all hindsight, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone why he was so far ahead in comparison to his peers. But unfortunately, this all changed with the introduction of one single character, Jura. He was the catalyst that caused the start of power imbalance in the story. Because when he was introduced, not only him, but the Shinju as a whole, they were immediately regarded as threats surpassing Code. And seeing how Boruto struggled against the Shinju back then, we knew he would need help. It was only a matter of time until he failed. It was obvious he couldn't handle these threats alone. But first, someone would have to get stronger. Or not someone, but multiple characters would have to get stronger if they were going to stand any chance at beating the Shinju. It just so happens that the one orchestrating this whole thing would be the one that previously stood at the top, Boruto. Despite knowing characters like Kawaki would likely surpass him, he still had to manipulate the future to get the favorited outcome he and or Kashinkoji were searching for. Prime example, Boruto informing Kawaki of his limiters that Amato placed on him. Knowing full and well that Kawaki is out to kill him, as well as has his mother and father hostage in another dimension, he still chose to make Kawaki stronger. But to be fair, he had no choice, because if he wanted to even pull that stunt he did in Tsunagakure, he would need Kawaki's help, or else he would be dead right now. So there was really nothing he could have did in that situation. Boruto probably saved a few lives because of him going to Tsunagakure, including Konohamaru, who of course is the biggest reason he went. So looking into that battle against Jura, which now looking at it, that probably done the most damage to Boruto's reputation, this fight not only showed just how far he was from being able to do any meaningful damage to Jura, but it also emphasized the newfound gap between Kawaki's new fighting ability and Boruto's. It was clear that Kawaki is above Boruto at this point, and it was really effortless for him too. Of course you can probably say it's not real power, or he didn't deserve the amp, that doesn't really matter. But what I can tell you is Boruto needs to be among the strongest if he's not gonna just straight up die sometime down the line. He has way too many enemies, too many people out to try and kill him, and he also has the most important mission, to rescue the planet. So now Boruto's in a bit of a bind. Neither he or Kawaki is strong enough at the moment to take down Jura. Even if Kawaki was to use his V2 power, it's still unlikely he could beat Jura if Boruto can't even use his karma. So both of them have to become stronger, a lot stronger. But right now, let's just solely focus on Boruto, because out of the top 5 strongest in the story right now, I fear he might be towards the latter half of those characters. And of course, we know he will get stronger, it's pretty much already confirmed. It's been confirmed since the beginning of the series, back then when we seen Boruto and Kawaki fighting on top of the Hokage monument. There's no way Boruto would be able to keep up with Kawaki if he didn't grow exponentially in power up to this point. This actually reminds me of how Naruto and Sasuke used to flip-flop on who's stronger throughout the series, dating back from the Land of Waves arc all the way to the final Valley battle. They each had several moments in that series where they overlapped each other in power, but no matter how strong either of them gotten, neither one of them advanced to a point where the other couldn't catch up. So therefore, I believe Boruto and Kawaki could be headed down a very similar path. The only question is, now that Kawaki is in the lead, how does Boruto catch up to him? It's only a matter of time until someone like Kashin Koji tells Boruto the truth. He has to get stronger, and there's a plethora of ways he can go about it. One of the ways I would love to see Boruto gain power is through an Otsutsuki awakening. And what I mean by Otsutsuki awakening is simply just Boruto learning how to utilize his power better in battle. The Otsutsuki have a very diverse arsenal ranging from chakra absorption, chakra manipulation, space-time ninjutsu, and the use of various dojutsu. And it just so happens, because of Boruto's Otsutsuki DNA, it's very possible for him to unlock a Shinjutsu of his very own. And all that power is accessible to him because of his Karma Seal. At the current moment, the only clear Otsutsuki ability he has is flight and a higher level of durability. But of course, that's not nearly enough. I know the potential that Boruto carries because of the karma. The only problem is being able to access it without having his body taken over by Momoshiki. Without him, he would have access to so much more power. Even the base karma power grants Boruto a great amp to all his physical abilities like speed, strength, and stamina. But diving into a bit deeper, it should offer all of Momoshiki's innate abilities as well, because all the karma is basically a backup file of all the Otsutsuki's power and abilities, as well as all their fighting experiences. That's why without any training, Kawaki was able to use all of Ishiki's abilities, as well as just be able to instantly use his staff without any hitch in the process at all. So this is what I mean. If we look at all the abilities Momoshiki had in the past, Boruto has access to all of these abilities because 100% of the karma's extraction is now embedded into his body. So with that being said, I believe an arc where Boruto sets out a goal to be able to control his karma power is in play. A good old-fashioned training arc, like every other MC had to go through. But what will Boruto's look like? I don't think it should just be training because of his alien genes, as well as his dojutsu potential. Just saying this right now, Boruto has a great potential to be able to use different dojutsu. If Kawaki is able to use Ishiki's Kokugan, then Boruto has the potential to awaken Momoshiki's Byakugan. And of course that will reside in his right eye. There's also speculation that Momoshiki's Palm Rinnegan could have manifested due to the natural process of Otsutsufication that Boruto's body underwent throughout the time skip. So there's a bunch of different ways Boruto's body has changed throughout the series. An example of this is Boruto coming out of the time skip being able to fly. It was never specified when Boruto found out he could do this, nor how he found out. He could have just woken up one day and just knew how to fly because of him awakening to the Otsutsuki instinct in his body. So who's to say he doesn't know more abilities, which he just doesn't have access to because Momoshiki won't let him have his way with his power. Of course this could possibly be fixed with Boruto doing something like awakening the Jogan, but to be honest, I wanted to try and stay away from talking about that because I wanted to discuss topics that have more certainty. We've seen the karma and we know what it can do and how it can affect one's body, but we don't know anything about the Jogan, the abilities, nor how it will affect Boruto's future. So talking about it seems rather unnecessary at this current moment. But of course, that's another way Boruto could become more powerful. We already know this. I wanted to try and focus on the karma because we've seen in real time that Boruto needs help. He can't go on like this because this hindrance will only handicap him later on. He needs to do something about his inability to control his power, because he can't stand up to Kawaki nor fight alongside him without having normal control over the karma. And let me remind you, that's something that's gonna need to be done if they're gonna work together to defeat Jura. So besides training regularly like Boruto already been doing, and maybe awakening to his karma power, what's another way Boruto could realistically gain the power needed to keep up with the strongest in the series? Normally I would say give me any theory you have, but try to keep it within his character. No absorbing the SHINJU, eating thorn souls, or anything like that. Like, be realistic. What's a way Boruto could get stronger? Either Otsutsuki or human methods. But it looks like I'm gonna start wrapping things up here. Before I end the video, be sure to leave some love by leaving a like, comment down below, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you know whenever I upload or go live for chapter spoilers. I'm dropping the chapter 25 prediction in hot takes video soon, so be on the lookout for that post on my community tab. But other than that, I'll see you boys and girls later, and I'm out. Peace.